If two tanker ships split in half in the span of the same day, is that a story of a really strong storm or really shoddy ship craftsmanship? Hi, my name is Anton and welcome to My Take, a What the Flick segment where community contributors and TYT personalities get to share their take on films. The finest hours. Now, I know the film is not exactly fresh anymore, but I did go see it this weekend and I have to get this off my chest because the movie didn't go very swimmingly, so view this at your own peril. The film is about a team of Coast Guard officers going out to rescue the crew of a sinking oil tanker. Actually, scratch that. Half a crew of half a tanker. The damn thing split in half and all communications are cut off, so the Coast Guard have to go find it by touch in the middle of a raging storm. The words suicide mission come up a lot in this movie, but the young skipper makes zero fuss about it.
On the Coast Guard, they say, you gotta go out. They don't say you gotta come back in.
So we are being set up to witness a heroic fit here. There is a love story in the mix. Things are looking really promising, right? And then the movie starts. There are three parts to the film: the love story, the tanker crew story, and the rescue crew story. The structure of the love story is almost too cliche. Boy meets girl, they fall in love, but before they can marry, he has to go off and do some crazy dangerous stuff. So to compensate for this platitude, they decide to write in extra dimensions for the character of the girl. They make her into this progressive woman who ventures outside the bounds of what women were allowed to do back then, and she effectively starts to rewrite the relationship handbook of her time. Which is great. She ruffles some feathers, makes some waves, rocks the boat, as it were, and builds positive momentum for breaking gender norms. And that just goes nowhere. The whole thing dissipates, takes a nosedive like a tanker. Real disappointment. Opportunity squandered. Next is the tanker crew story, and this part is really interesting. These are men who learn they are likely going to die, and they are scrambling to figure out a way to delay that as best they can. Now, of course there's gonna be power struggle, but in this case it was really clumsy. On a ship like that there are clear guidelines as to who is the ranking officer in any circumstance. Which is not to say there won't be mutiny, but that part is not even brought up. So instead you just have a bunch of dudes duking it out on the deck like it's a schoolyard. And something that is never truly captured is the overwhelming sense of panic that would be looming over the crew. Look, I get that these are tough guys, but they go way too quick from learning that half the ship is gone to exchanging petty insults, and it doesn't seem like a coping mechanism. What is done really well are the scenes of teamwork and ingenuity that went into keeping this thing afloat as long as it did. And yeah, they got me to care about the fate of these guys as a result. And that's what you want from a movie like this, is to feel like you're there with the crew, and even though the pacing was wonky in a number of scenes, the experience was still there. The third part is the rescue crew story, and this one has the most holes in its hull. There's way too much stuff going on that does not make sense and is never explained. They are in a tiny boat going into these colossal waves, and they have a door to the engine room open. How is that a good idea? Plus there are two guys posted on the outer edges of the boat holding on for dear lives throughout this whole ordeal, and it's never addressed. What is the purpose of that? I want to know. As a viewer, I need to know. So this whole thing could have really used some educational moments. Someone to explain the challenges they are facing and the reasoning behind the actions they take. Never happens. The talking that does happen is limited to the dialogue that is filled with these pauses that are clearly there to elicit dramatic emotion, but it is so bad that it's almost comical. You don't see the bond between the characters forming, you're not properly let in on their inner conflicts, and as a result you don't particularly care for them either. So as a viewer, you spend this integral part of the movie getting motion sickness, not because of the waves, but because all they do is go through the motions without eliciting any emotions. And I think the blame lies in the disjunction between writing and editing. Someone somewhere messed up big, and it's really infuriating. I'll give this movie a 4 out of 10 because despite a great story, decent acting, and powerful effects, it's way too discombobulated. And you can see it having this awesome potential which it never lives up to in full. A cinematic tragedy about a real-life tragedy. Pity, because it didn't do justice to a great story. That's my take. What would you like me to review next? Any classics? Any new films? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!